Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation is from Gauri Sukhmani Mahalla Panjama, and today the recitation is the seventh pauri of the Sukhmani Sahib. So we will begin the recitation with the salok and a consideration of the salok and move down the Ashtapadi one pada at a time. Salok Agam Agadh Parbraham Soi, jo jo kahe so mukta hoy. Sun mita nanak binavanta, sad jana ki achraj katha. So Nanak is addressing the mind as a friend here, saying, Sunamita Nanak Binavanta. It's my prayer, my petition to you, to the mind. Listen, my friend, he says, listen to the astonishing story. Sad Janaki Achraj Katha, the astonishing story of the Sad Jana. So we have to understand the use of the word sad, which recurs in Gurbani quite frequently. And sad literally means to accomplish, or to conquer something, or to perfect something. And has been commonly used in the Indian systems of various tantric sects. In Sikhi, the term implies one who has conquered the ego, and usually, more often than not, is used for the guru. In its plural sense, it is used for a fellowship of evolved individuals, but it seems to us that here it is being used to narrate the story, as the salok says, of the guru. Why is it astonishing? What is it about the story of the guru that is astonishing? Well, it is astonishing because Agam Agadh Parbraham Soi, jo jo kahe so mukta hoy. So the narrative is about the guru who has evolved to the state of Parbraham, to that transcendent self. And that is the story. And that is the method of the guru. So this is really a narrative of revelation, if you will, between the unseen and the seen, because the unseen is the Parbraham. And what we see here is the Gurdev, the Sad, who is the seen entity. And that is the story of this pauri. And so the alliterative refrain in this Ashtapadi is Sad ka Sang, or Sad Sang, meaning association of the Sad, or to be with the Sad, the Guru, that is to say. And this Ashtapadi essentially is narrating to us the impact of being with the Sad. And that is part of the journey of a Sikh, to be with the Guru. It's central. And it implies that a Sikh is a spiritual traveler who's gradually illuminated through the Guru, is illuminated by the light of wisdom, which is Naam. And it is also the light that unveils, you see. So it is an unveiling process. So this is the art and science of self-disclosure, because the self discloses itself, and the Guru teaches the Sikh how that happens. That's the story. So what you will see in this pauri are literally listed outcomes of being with the Guru. When you're being taught by the Guru, what sort of outcomes happen? So let's recite the pauri pada by pada and see what is in store. साध के संग मुख उज्जल होत, साध संग mal sagli khot. So remember, each line is now to be read as in fellowship with the Guru. So I won't repeat it over and over again because it precedes every line. So, and these are the outcomes. Mukh ujjal hot. The intellect is enlightened. Ujjal is to enlighten, to illuminate. So the intellect is illuminated. How? Mal sagli khot. Mal is impurity of the mind. And what is really an impurity? It is an impediment, essentially. And so the impediment of the mind are the impediments of the restricted senses. So for instance, extreme distance or extreme nearness are impediments of the senses. The senses can't see too far away, beyond a point, nor can they see things that are too small, beyond a point. So these are some of the impediments of the senses. So in the presence of the Guru, the senses, the mind, if you will, is enhanced. It's expanded. And you essentially, when you say mal khoi khot, you're saying that the mind is beginning to expand in its consciousness. That is what happens with the Guru. Sadh ke sang mite abhiman, sadh ke sang pragate so gyan. That is why it happens. Because the ego shrinks as the mind's consciousness expands and wisdom manifests itself. Sadh ke sang bujhe prab nera, sadh sab hot, sadh sang sab hot nabera. All doubts are settled. Nabera means to settle. And bujhe prab nera. Bujhe is discernment. Your intuitive reason, your imaginal reason. You see, what is happening here is that our capacity for reason is expanding because it is dangerous to just rely on cognitive, intellectual understanding without the use of other dimensions of reason, which include intuitive awareness, intuitive thinking, which include the world of imagination. And we often tend to ignore that because it is a necessary part of this journey. So that's the sort of thing that is happening. Sadh ke sang paaye naam ratan, sadh ke sang ek upar jatan, sadh ki mehma barne kaun prani, nanak sadh ki sobha prabh mahe samani. So the point is the focus shifts to the self. Ek upar jatan, one pointed focus on the self. Your mind begins to focus. And so the Guru says in the first section of the Ashtapadi, who can describe the glory of the Sadh? You see, Sadh ki mehma barne kaun prani. Because the Sadh and the Prabh self are indistinguishable from one eventually. And then in the next section, Sadh ke sang agochar milay, Sadh ke sang sada par phalay, Sadh ke sang aveh bas pancha, Sadh sang amrit ras puncha, Sadh sang hoye sab ki reen, Sadh ke sang manohar bain, Sadh ke sang na kathu tave, Sadh sang asthit man pave, Sadh ke sang maya te pin, Sadh sang nanak so prasann. So you see these qualities, you see the outcomes that are happening. Parfula, fruitful, success becomes part of your life. Your senses come under your control. You taste Amrit Ras, the elixir of immortality. In other words, you begin to get a taste of the infinite capacities, the potential that lie within you. And you become sabki reign, full of humility and service to humanity. You begin to recognize that there is a cause bigger than yourself. Your speech becomes sweet and enchanting, manohar bain. And then the mind's condition, sadh ke sang na kathu tave. Kathu tave, tave means to stop. The wandering mind finds stillness. Asthita manapave, again, it settles down. Sadh ke sang maya te pen. You're no longer deluded by Maya. Pen means you separate out from Maya. You begin to understand reality for what it is. These are the signs of the self being at pleasure with one. And then your worldview changes. Dushman sab meet. The mind has no bias or prejudice, so it sees no enemy. It sees only friends. Mahapunit, purification of the mind again. Kisasyo nahi bair, no enmity, steadfastness and no enmity. Sadh ke sang nahi ko manda, sadh jane paramananda. The reason you don't see the other is because you see the paramananda, the blissful form of the self, everywhere. So there can be no other. Sadh ke sang nahi hau taap, sadh ke sang taje sab aap. So here, the fever of the ego has been soothed. You've renounced the sense of the self. When you say renounced, it means you understand that it has no legs of its own. It actually is just an abstraction. So in fellowship with the Guru, the process of co-mingling begins to happen. Nanak, Sadh Prabhu Bane Ai. And then he repeats again that the search for solutions comes to an end. Sadh ke sang kabhu na kabhu tave. You don't stop in different places looking for different solutions. Sadh ke sang sada sukha pave. Sukh means a road where there are no blocks anywhere, a vision that is clear, and it is a feeling of control and comfort. Sadh sanga basat agochara lahe. Now you have intuitive awareness. The mind develops fortitude and anticipates and can live with the unbearable. Sadhu ke sang ajar sahe, the unbearable. Sadh ke sang base than uche, sadh ke sang mahal pahuche. Higher dimensions of consciousness are achieved. Goals are achieved. Sadh ke sang dridha sab taram. Sadh ke sang keval Parbraham. Sadh ke sang paaye naam nidan, nanak sadhu ke kurban. The essence of all religions is internalized. Sadh ke sang dridha sabbe taram. So even though religions express themselves in particular ways, at bottom, the essence of all religions is one, which is the search for the self and the union. It's it's humanity's search for itself. And so you begin to associate with the wise in order to get to what is called Parbraham, that consciousness which exceeds your own. But most importantly, Sadh ke sang paaye naam nidhan. You get the association of the wise, but you find naam nidhan, the treasure of self-knowledge. And you see, this is of the nature of light, and it is of the nature of wisdom. So it's existence and wisdom together. Sadh ke sang sab kul udhare. One serves to better humanity. One's purposes, one's objectives go beyond narrow selfish interests. Sadhasang sajjan meet kutumban stare. Again, the same idea. You benefit people around you. You become rich with the wealth of virtue. And with that wealth, others profit as well. Sadhu ke sang so tan pave, jis tante sab ko varsave. You benefit others. That's key. Sadhu sang dharmaraya kare seva. Well, the fear of death has been lifted. So all of the energies of the universe are in service of that individual. Sobha Surdeva, that's another outcome. Glorification. You see, your mind radiates at that point. Papa Palayan. Pap is the opposite of Sukh, if you will. Pun, which means that you are not making any error. You're on the right track. You sing to the primal self. Sadh ke sang nahi kach kaal, darsana petat hot nihal. So in fellowship with the Guru, everything becomes effortless and one feels the delightful presence that is otherwise missing. The darkness of ignorance is dispelled. Kalukata hare. And that is the same as obviating the notion of hell. Sadh ke sang narak par hare. State of the mind changes. Sadh ke sang iha uha suhella. Happiness here and in the future, because you're taking care of your present. Sadh sang bichrat har mela. There is a rejoicing in meeting everyone, because there is no other. And this is fulfillment. This is spiritual fulfillment. Soi phal pave, sadh ke sang na birtha jave. You don't return empty-handed. Parbraham sadh rid basai, nanak udre sadh sun rasai. So the Supreme Self essentially abides in the Sadh, the Guru. As we said earlier, they're really indistinguishable. Sadh ke sang suno har nao, sadh har ke gun gao. This is now the crux of the matter. Suno har nao. Har nao, you incorporate virtues in your life. You essentially, your life becomes a glorification of the self. And you most assuredly are guaranteed success. Sadh sang sar par. Surely, nistare, you have found the way out. And you feel the presence of that self everywhere. Ghat ghatadita. So then, in conclusion, in the last subsection here, the Guru says, Sadh ki mehma bed na janne, jeta suneh teta bakhyanne. The Vedas, or the scriptural texts, really do not appreciate the eminence of the Sadh, because the difference is that they describe what can be perceived by the senses. Jeta suneh, teta bakhyanne, what can be heard by the ears. But the Sadh, if you remember at the very outset, is a dialogue between the seen and the unseen. You see, Sadh ki upama teh gun te dur. The excellence of the Sadh domain extends beyond the domain of the senses. The Vedas are restricted to the senses, or at least the way they are practiced. And Sadh ki upama rahi bharpur. It's overflowing and it's inexhaustible, the brilliance of the Sadh. So the Sadh is really the transcendental self. It is a continuum. They are the same. There is no distinction between the Sadhgur and the Prabh self. Nanak Sad Prabh Ped na pai. That's the crux of the matter. So we have to begin this journey through various assimilations. The first one being Gurbani, that acts as the Gur, the company of evolved individuals, and we go from there. On that note, until the next time, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.